Hi everybody. Let's before I start linear equations and rational equation, and this is the prerequisite video for a college algebra class. So these are the 4 steps that I use for solving the equations. You clear the fractions by multiplying least common denominator with each term. You second, clear parentheses by distributing property. Third, combine like terms. 4, isolate the variable. Like terms means when you have same variables and same exponents. This is slope-intercept form. This is your point slope form. B is a y-intercept. M is a slope. Let's solve this. So I'm going to use the steps. Clear the fractions. I don't have fractions, so ignore that one. Clear parentheses. I don't have them. Ignore that. Combine like terms. 5 and 29 are like terms. And if the terms are on the opposite side of equal, then you have to use opposite operation to move them around. So I'm moving the 5 on the other side, so I'm going to subtract 5 because that's the opposite operation right now for 5. They cancel out. I'm left with 4x equal 24. 29 subtract 5 is going to give me 24. Now I have to, the last one, isolate the variable. I'm going to isolate x in opposite operation again because I have to move the 4 on the other side of equal, and this time opposite operation is division because they have a multiplication. 4 times x, 4 cancel out, my x is equal 6. Now if I want to check my question, I think this is my answer, but if I want to be 100% sure, let's check. I'm writing my equation, linear equation, and I'm replacing this x with 6. So it's going to be 4 times 6 plus 5 equal 29. 6 times 4 is 24 plus 5 equal 29. 29 equal 29. When you have, and this is a true statement, 29 is equal 29. And you have the same numbers both sides of equal, good, which means my answer is correct. Let's go back for the rational equation. How do we solve them? Clear fractions by multiplying least common denominator. So you have to find least common denominator. We have 4, 14, and 7. My least common denominator in this case is going to be 28. So I'm just going to write here least common denominator is equal 28. Now multiply 28 with each term. I'm going to write my equation one more time so I can clearly do my multiplication, division, whatever I need. 7. So I'm gonna make sure that you multiply 28 here. You're gonna multiply 28 here. You're gonna multiply 28 here. Okay, the way I multiply all these things, 28 and 4, this is a common denominator, least common denominator, and this one is my denominator. So you divide these two. I'm gonna divide. So 28 divided by 4 is going to give me 7. That 7 is going to multiply. That 7 is going to multiply with the top portion. So I'm going to write down like this. Okay, we will multiply it later. Let's do this first. So 14 and 28. 28 divided by 14 is going to give me 2. And that 2 is going to multiply with 5. Minus sign stays, all the sign stays. These two divide. 28 divided by 7 is going to give me 4. And that 4 is going to multiply right there with the top. So 4x plus 5. And the fractions disappeared. Fractions gone. Okay. Now let's do clear the parentheses. So I have to use a distributing property. 7 is going to multiply with x, 7 is going to multiply with 3. And you make sure that you remember, if I'm multiplying 7x and 7, 3, their signs has to multiply, okay? So positive times positive is going to give me positive. 7 times x is 7x. There. Positive times negative is going to be negative. 7 times 3 is 21. And some students, most of the time, they forget that they have to multiply this 7 with a second number within the parentheses too. So make sure if 7 multiplies with everything inside the parentheses. These two, positive times positive is going to give me positive, and 2 times 5 is going to give me 10. Again, these two. So I'm multiplying 4 and x first, and you know x has a positive sign. This one has a negative on this side. Negative times positive is going to give me negative. 4 times x is going to give me 4x. Negative times positive is going to give me negative again. 4 times 5 is 20. Now I have to combine like terms, and you can tell my like terms are 7x and 4x, negative 4x and positive 7x. And this 4x, I'm going to move it to the other side, to the left side of equal. You can move the 7x, it's your choice. I like my variable on the left. So I'm going to, let's erase that. These are my like terms. Okay, these are my like terms. So I'm going to add 4x because the opposite sign is addition for that. It's subtracting, so add 4x. They cancel out and I am left with 7 and 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11x. I still have this 21 and I still have these two. So if you guys pay attention, this is 20 and this is 10. This is addition and that's a subtraction. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to subtract, because the different signs you subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number is 20, you subtract, you get 10. Now 21 and 10 are like terms, and since they are like terms, I have to move the 21 to the other side and I'm adding 21. Okay, they cancel out, I'm left with 11x equal 11. Positive 11 because 21 is bigger. 11 divided by 11 is going to give me x equal 1. Now this is my answer for x equal 1. If you want to check, do this, then you plug in 1 over here for every x and see if you get the both sides of, if you get this true stream, you know, like this one, like both sides of equal, you should have the same number. Okay, let's go back here. Now for this question, I would try find least common denominator because we have to remove the fractions. Now the easy way to do this, you know, x is going to stay as an x as a least common denominator. Okay, I'm just going to write the x here. But 2, 18, and 3, what is the least common denominator here? 18x. So I'm going to write my question one more time here so I can easily do my division and multiplication. Least common denominator 18, I'm going to multiply 18 with each term. There you go. 18x, I'm sorry, 18x. Okay, now these two you divide. So 18x divided by 2x, I'm going to write down here like a scratch paper. 18x divided by 2x. You know, x cancel out 2 and that's 9. So I'm left with 9. That 9 is multiplying with 5. You know, that 9 is multiplying with 5. Now let's do this. 18x is dividing by 18 is going to give me just x, and that will be a 17x. Minus 18x divided by 3x, again, I'm going to write down here 18x divided by 3x, x cancel, and this is 6. So 6 times 1 is 6. I'll just write down 6. Okay, I don't have to make a parentheses. 9 times 5, 45, 17x minus 6. Now it's just the fractions disappeared, the parentheses are gone. Now all I have to do is make sure that combine like terms. 45 and 6 are like terms. I can move 6 here, I can move 45 here, it's your choice, but if you move 45, you're gonna have a 0 here. So you have to do one more extra step. But I'll just do add 6 both sides, cancel. 45 plus 6 is going to give me 51 equals 17x. Now isolate the x, you divide, opposite operation again. You have 51 divided by 17 is going to give me x equal 3. And you can check it back by plugging in the equation in the original. Okay, let's do this one. Find all values of x for which y1 equal y2. When they tell me, like, this is my y1, this is my y2, and they said they are equal, and they are looking for x. So what I'm going to do, I have to make those two equal each other. So when I make them equal each other, it will be like this. Okay, let's use different color. They equal each other. 1x plus 4 plus 1 over x minus 4 equal 22x squared minus 16. Now if you pay attention, you see these are my denominators, all of them, and if you closely look at it, this one is the same as that. Okay, like I can rewrite that. X plus 4, 1 over x minus 4 22 over x plus 4, x minus 4. You know, this one? It's a binomial, and I will get the same thing, which means my least common denominator is the same thing. Okay, so what I'm going to do, my least common denominator is this, x plus 4, x minus 4. Okay, because I mean, you can pick x squared minus 16, it doesn't matter, it's going to give you the same answer. So I'm going to multiply that least common. Okay, let's write down this least common denominator is x plus 4 and x minus 4. So I'm going to multiply x plus 4 and x minus 4 here. My x's are bad, I'm sorry. Okay, so, and again, the same thing. I have x plus 4 and I have x minus 4, and I'm multiplying, and the same thing goes here. I'm going to multiply x plus 4, x minus 4. Okay, again, I'm doing the same thing. I divide these two. When I divide, you know, x plus 4 and x plus 4 will cancel out, and I'm left with x minus 4. And that x minus 4 is going to multiply with 1. So I have x minus 4 plus this plus sign. Again, x minus 4 and x plus 4, x minus 4. When I divide this whole thing by x minus 4, x minus 4, x minus 4 cancel out. And I can show you this if you think you're confused about it. I'm going to draw a line here so we don't mess up this question. Up here, I have x plus 4 and x minus 4, and I'm dividing x minus 4. You know, they cancel out. I'm left with x plus 4. That x plus 4 is going to multiply with 1. So x plus 4. Okay, I'm going to erase that. Okay, let's go for this one, equal. When they divide, they cancel out, each one of them. They all cancel out. So I'm left with 22. Now, do you see the fractions are gone, disappeared? So I'm left with this. So what I'm getting here, it's 4 and 4 cancel out because one is negative, one is positive, and these two are positive. So I have 2x equal 22. You divide 2 both sides because opposite operation, and isolating the x, my answer is x equal 11. And that's what I got. Now, if you guys pay attention for all these 4 questions that I got, do you see x equals 6, x equal 1? There is only this solution, right? So equation that is true for at least, all these equations are true for at least one real number is called conditional equation. So we're gonna have, I'm gonna write here, all these 4 questions that I did, they are called conditional equation. Conditional equation. The equation's called conditional, okay? Conditional equations. And there is one solution there. So conditional equations, and I'm going to highlight this. So the questions that we did so far, these are all conditional equations. Okay, let's go back for the let's go back. I think I should give you one more question before we start this one. Okay, so I'm gonna erase some of the stuff, or I can, let's see if I can move this over here and I can have a space to do one more question, or move this down. There you go. Okay, let's try another question that I want to show you what kind of equations are these. Okay, now let's say if I have 4x minus 7 equal 4x minus 1 plus 3. If I solve this, then 4x minus 7 stays. I have to remove the parentheses, and I'm using a distributive property. Again, signs goes first. So positive times positive is positive. 4 times x is 4x. Positive times negative is negative, and it's 4 plus 3. Then I am getting 4x minus 7 equal 4x minus 1. You see that? If I subtract 4, because these are like terms, right? 4x and 4x are like terms, and 4x is moving to the other side, so they cancel out. I'm left with -7 equal -1. Do you see that's not a true statement? Because -7 is not equal -1. If you have these kind of equations, then the equations called inconsistent equation. Inconsistent equations. And inconsistent equations, and the solution is and there is no solution, like that's how you say it. Okay, that one was one solution, all these equations one solution. This one is no solution. For the solution you use no solution or one solution. For the equations you use inconsistent or conditional equations. Okay, now if there is one more equations, which is called an identity. Identity means when it's true for all real numbers. Like for example, I get 0 equals 0, or I get some other numbers equal some other numbers. Like if I get something like this, it's identity equations. And like I'm getting the same thing back. Okay, so these are identity equations. Okay, equation that is true for all real numbers is called identity. Okay, like for example, now 0 equals 0, or maybe you can say I get the answer 9 equal 9, I get the answer 7 equals 7, or I get the answer -7 equal -7, whatever. You get both sides of the equation exactly the same number, which is true statement, and it will be identity equations, and it means you have infinite solutions. So just remember these vocabulary words here. I'm not giving you a question for this, but that's what I meant. I just explained. Okay, so let's do the word problems right here. This is the word problem, and I'm going to move this down there so I can have enough space for this. Let's read the question and find out what we have here. Persons with a low sense. Okay, word problems, guys. It's a big problem. The students doesn't understand the word problems. The easy way to do it: read the questions 2 times or maybe 3 times. Start what they're asking you and go backward. Okay, that's what they're asking me. Do I need this? Do I need that? Do I have this? And then you start doing that, talking to yourself. Persons with a low sense of humor have higher levels of depression in response to negative life events than those with a high sense of humor. This can be modeled by a formula In this formula, okay, now this is closely pay attention. What do they mean by X and D? And the X represent intensity of negative life event. So the X is going to be negative life events. Okay, X, intensity of a negative life event. Okay, I'm doing pink both. D is the average level of depression in response to that event. So the D is average level of depression in response. If the low humor group averages a level of depression of 10, so this 10 is also a level of depression to a negative life event, what is the intensity of that event? Okay, so now if you guys closely pay attention, this is given and they are asking what is the intensity of that event. What event? Negative life event. And intensity it was the X, if you guys remember. You see that intensity of negative life event was X, so this means I'm looking for X. D was the average level of depression in response to that event, like to that negative event, response to negative event. So D is depression, which is 10. All you have to do when you see the word problem like a huge big problem, then every student get frustrated with it. Just read it and figure it out what all these variables they are giving me mean. And again, start with what they're asking you. So if they're asking what is the intensity, intensity was X. It's right there. That's why I really need to know what these variable means. So I'm going to write my equation, the one they are giving me, D equal 10 over 9 X plus 53 over 9. D was given, which was 10. And then we need to figure it out. X plus 53 over 9. Do you see you have fractions? You can make this as a fraction too if you don't. 9 and 9 is my least common denominator. So all I have to do is find the least common denominator, which in this case is 9, and multiply that 9 everywhere with every term. So I'm multiplying 9 here, I'm multiplying 9 with this term, I'm multiplying 9 with this term. These two you divide. 9 and 1 you divide, it's going to get 9. That 9 multiply up here with the 10. So it's going to give me 90. 9 times 10 is 90. You divide, you get 1. 1 times 10x is going to be 10x. You divide 1 times 53 is going to be 53, and I'm keeping the signs as it is. Now these 53 and 90 are like terms, and I'm subtracting 53 both sides. They are, I mean, not technically like terms, but I'm just going to say like terms. So you combine them. 90 subtract 53 is going to give me 37. 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, equal 10x. Now you divide 10 both sides because I have to use opposite operation. 10 and x are multiplying, opposite is division, and making the variable by itself. So my answer is going to be x equal 3.7. So the intensity of the event, okay, always write the interpretation of the answer, like what does that mean? What is 3.7? So just, I know it's intensity of that event, just write it down somewhere. It's 3.7 intensity. Okay, why I wrote it down this far away? Intensity of negative event. Negative event. Do you see, instead of that event, I know it's a negative event, so I just wrote down negative event, is 3.7, and you're good to go. So that was that. Okay, let's try solving this question. Now read the question carefully. I'm going to move this up there so we can have enough space. I just want to do a few word problems with you guys so you can have a really good idea what's going on. Okay, so again, you already have the equations, that is the steps that I use for the equations. Okay, right there. Now you are choosing between two texting plans. Okay, this is again the word problem. I'm going to read it and I'm going to start what they're asking me. Plan A has a monthly fee of $15 with a charge of this 0.8 cents per text. Plan B has a monthly fee of $3 with a charge of 0.12 per text. For how many text messages will the cost for the two plans be the same? Do you see the magic word up here is this? The magic word is the same. This. The plan A cost is equal plan B cost. That's what it means. So I'm going to go, let's write down plan A is equal plan B. Now, do you see I'm starting with what they're asking me? Like how many text messages, the cost, plan. So this is what it is. Now, what is plan A? Let's read it again. Plan A has a monthly fee of $15 with a charge of 0.08 per text. Per means you are multiplying. Okay, text, you can say it's an X. $15, that's constant. That's constant. It's not changing. Like $15 for 0.08. I mean, that's the basic. That's the initial amount. That's the basic one. That's what their price is. So it's not going to change. So if I'm doing something, do you see the 0.08 per text, which means 0.08 is multiplying with X per text plus $15. That $15, like I said, that's constant right now. Plan B, I have monthly fee of $3 and charge of 0.12 per text, which is per X. And you have plus 3. So these are my plans. and I made them equal each other. Now they are asking for the text, how many text messages, which means the text means x. So that's what I'm looking for. Combine the like terms. We don't have fractions, we don't have parentheses. So like terms, I'm subtracting 0.12x both sides, 0.12x. They cancel out, and I'm left with the negative 0.04x. You can use a calculator on this. And then I have plus 15 equal 3. Then you subtract 15 both sides, and I'm left with negative 0.04x equal negative 12. Now I have to make the variable by itself, so I'm gonna divide negative 0.04 both sides. They cancel. I'm left with x equal 300. So the text messages, the 300 text messages will cost the two plans exactly the same cost. Okay, so that's what it is. Okay, let's do one more right there. After 30% price reduction, you purchase a new computer for $840. What was the computer price before the reduction? 30% was the reduction. You purchase a new computer for this. So this is the price that I purchased it after the 30%. Okay, so how would I do that? First of all, computer's price. So what is the original price of the computer? I would say that's X. Okay, so the original price of the computer is X. So when we go to the store, we buy computer, for example, just pretend we buy a computer. The price of the computer, there will be small stickers that says that's the original price, and after 30% their price is $840. So what is that original price? Which means the original price, I'm gonna subtract that 30% from it, and then we are getting that $840. So that's how it goes. X minus percent, always change it into a decimal. That's the rule for everything. Every time you see percent, change them into decimal. So I'm subtracting 0.3, but 30% of what? 30% of original price, and you know my original price is X. You have to do that when you see 30%. You know 30%, if I just write 0.3 here, what is that supposed to mean? What is 0.3? Is it a cent? Is it something else? But I'm talking about 30% of the original. Of means multiply. Like this is a sentence that you have to say in your head. 30% of what? So in this case, 30% of original price, which is X, equal 840. Now you can solve this. X and 0.3x, they are like terms. And this is 1 actually. So 1 subtract 0.3x will give me 0.7x. You can use a calculator for that, and this is 840. You divide 0.7 both sides, then I'm getting x equal, and again use a calculator, it's 1200. Now this is the original price of the computer. When I subtract the 30% of this, then I'll get $840. Okay, let's try more. Do we have anything else? I think we have just this one question. I just review again. Solve the formula. P equal this for W. Now when they say solve for any kind of variable, it means you have to isolate that variable. Isolate variable. That's important. Every time they ask for the solve for this, so we have to isolate it. So how do we isolate? Opposite operations, make this W by itself. So what I do, I box this W so I don't touch it. Remember this, do not touch this 2 because that 2 goes with W, so don't touch this. First get rid of that one. If you can get rid of this first, like you divide it 2 everywhere, but it will give you a fraction and it will make it harder. So every time do this last. First get rid of this. Since this is adding, then I have to subtract 2L. I have to subtract 2L. They cancel out. I'm left with P minus 2L. And you know 2L and P are not like terms. We can't do anything with them. 2W again. Now you can divide, and that division goes everywhere. So my W is P minus 2L divide by 2, and I isolated my W and I solved for W. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, please comment below. I will make a video on your question. I will help you out. Subscribe, like my channel, like my video, subscribe my channel, and if you subscribe, I can give you tutoring on Zoom on one-on-one. Okay, have a good day, guys. Bye.